There and there we go. Three, two, and one. Well, Mayor Wiza, welcome back to Mayor's Monday here at WSAU, WSAU.com. I'm going to I gotta corner you because you've been difficult to find these days. So first off, we talk about the really tough questions that everybody's here to find the answers to. Why have you been avoiding me?
Well, I've been under the Witless Protection Program,
Oh,
not Witness, Witless Protection
oh,
Program.
that's even more
So
secretive.
been it's more secretive. I've been running incognito. Even my own wife didn't know my whereabouts for a while. Well, I suppose that's probably pretty common with some marriages.
Mm-hmm. Probably.
Regardless, it's top secret military stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You this level, right? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have the security clearance. I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you. And since we're virtual,
Mm-hmm.
that's not really an option.
That's not really an option. No. Uh,
It's great how we can play off of each other like this. And we should do an April Fool's episode, right? Where everything we talk
right.
about is BS and
Exactly.
keep a straight face. We should have done a vaudeville act. You and I would have been great in
I think
vaudeville.
so. I think we could have pulled that off. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, we kind of it's been a couple of months since we've had the chance to catch up with you. I know that there's some really important, I mean, really enthralling, gripping, edge of your seat type stuff that's going on in the city that you also want public participation in. So tell us where you're at with the zoning code rewrite, because I know this is something that's going to take up a lot of time here over the summer and is whether you know it or not, this
Yeah.
is going to have an impact on your neighborhood.
And for generations. So the last time we did a comprehensive zoning code rewrite was in the 70s. I'm sure you remember the 70s. That was probably back in your high school days, right?
Not
But
quite.
since then, so we do the plans every so often, and then we amend the plan on a fairly regular basis, right? Oh, this section doesn't work for us anymore, so we'll make a few changes here. And what happens is you get this patchwork of things where maybe this set of codes doesn't completely align with this set of codes, and you get some contradictions or maybe duplications. Anyway, the philosophy of our community has changed since the 1970s, believe it or not. So we're looking at doing a comprehensive rewrite, literally from page one to page whatever it comes out to be. We're talking about not only setbacks and zoning restrictions, what can and can't be built in certain areas or neighborhoods, talking about how we want to see our residential neighborhoods. Do we want to, allow for more integrated neighborhoods? Walkable communities are a big thing that people talk about. Remember, well, maybe you don't, but when I was younger, we had a neighborhood grocery store, right? It wasn't
Mhm.
the big mega marts that you see now. Do we want to get back to some of that, or at least allow some of that to see if it occurs naturally? But we're going to be having a meeting. Our first official meeting, I guess, will be May 14th at 6 p.m. Special Plan Commission meeting to begin the discussion on this zoning code rewrite. So honestly, this will affect everybody in the community. And I say community because it will likely take some affect people outside the community. We have borders with the town of Hull and the town of Linwood and Park Ridge, Whiting, and this could affect them too. So it's really important that people allow their voices to be heard, at least at this point. Let us know what you think and what you hope to see as a vision for our community, for the next 20 years or so. But again, Wednesday, May 14th at 6 p.m. We'll have that at our community room at 933 Michigan Avenue. Follow along. This will be a months long process before we're able to present anything to council. So everybody will have ample opportunity to put their 2 cents in.
And when we say this, we're not talking about, some people might go to the worst case scenario, which is my residential neighborhood suddenly gets rezoned heavy industrial
Right.
and everybody has to move. Probably not going that far.
No,
But
it will
what
not go
we
that far.
know,
Obviously, anything that's existing will remain. But do you want to see a more of a buffer between, let's say, some commercial districts and residential districts that might allow for maybe multifamily, some more transitional type zoning? we've made some zoning comprehensive future land use changes over the years too. We want to get an idea of where do you see the city growing, right? Is the east side going to be more commercial and industrial, or do you expect to see some scattered subdivisions in there? What do you want? And that's what we're going to be talking about over the next couple of months.
So what this could mean though is in your area you might see uh, some townhomes, some more multifamily units, as you
Yep.
said,
Right.
because the part of the puzzle of putting a city like this together is making sure everything works. If you have multifamily housing as kind of a buffer between industrial and single family homes, residential, that multifamily housing can provide housing for the employees at the industrial that maybe is more convenient for them to get to work. They can maybe walk to work most months out of the year. These are the kind of things that you have to think about, right?
Right. And you got to look way out into the future. Because years ago, we have an issue right now where Warzella Publishing, which is now Sheridan, they've owned land across the street from them for better than 20 years. Our zoning code allows for a conditional use of a warehouse. They currently rent warehouse space, and they want to build their own warehouse to help save money. That got a lot of pushback from the community, mostly from residents of Park Ridge, the neighboring community. But, 30, 40 years ago, that was the edge of the city, and we hadn't gone further. Well, then some people remember the old Fleet Farm building when that was kind of the edge of the city, and everything past that was farmland. Well, we're a mile past that now. So you have to think about that long range planning, right? If you want industrial on the outskirts of the city, in 20 years, that will not be the outskirts of the city. That may be closer to the core. So you have to consider all of those things too. But like I said, over the next couple of months, we encourage everybody to participate. If you can't make a meeting, send your thoughts through us via email, through Community Development Department, or drop us a line some other way.
Absolutely. And then, as speaking of, as you mentioned, back in the day, the kind of neighborhood grocery store, you've
Hmm.
actually got one of those that's going to be opening in your
Yeah, well,
downtown
it
area.
did open. It actually opened
Yeah.
Saturday.
hmm
And it's called Sisters Corner Store, I believe, or Corner Market, which is something that is reinvigorated. We used to have those neighborhood grocery stores, kind of grab and go, instead of the mega marts that we have today.
hmm
Carrie Adams and her business partner, opened up this store on the square downtown, which coincided with the opening of a farmers market. I don't know if I told you this, but the Stevens Point Public Farmers Market is the longest continually operating farmers market in the entire state of Wisconsin.
Wow.
It's literally deeded. I had someone ask me the other day, who owns the market? Matthias Mitchell deeded that to the public, to the people of Stevens Point.
hmm
So it's the longest operating farmers market. But check out Sisters Corner Store. It's in the northeast corner of the square, right behind kind of Fall Line Outfitters in that area. And stop in and say hi. It's hopefully the first of some of these neighborhood grocery store type things that are going to be popping up. We've got some great shops downtown. If you haven't been here in a while, you need to swing by.
hmm
You want to come down, Michael? I'll give you a personal tour. We'll grab lunch somewhere. And
Absolutely. Always up to check out what's in downtown Stevens
yeah,
Point. Yeah.
speaking of the square, we got the public market, of course, which is generally on Saturdays, and it'll pick up as harvest season rolls in. But Wednesday nights, the lineups are set. So we have live music every Wednesday night, kind of what they do up in Wausau at the 400 block, but way
hmm
cooler. We have something called Notes at Night, which is live bands that play on the square. So people bring chairs and you can grab a drink, listen to live music. We also have the city band that plays at Piffner Pioneer Park on Wednesdays. PJ's has live music. Goose on Main has live music. I got a complaint 2 years ago now, it would have been that there's too much to do on Wednesday nights. Well,
hmm
that's the perfect complaint, right?
Yeah.
But the lineup's set. You can get those bands listed on your calendar, whether it's a Google Calendar or Outlook, for Notes at Night on Wednesday. And then Thursdays, we have the return of the Levitt Amp music festivals or music series. That lineup is set also. You can go to the Create Portage County site and get that whole lineup. Thursday nights, live music. And then, of course, every Friday and Saturday, there's something else going on, whether it's
Mhm.
a festival, art in the park, jazz fest, something along those lines. Lots of things that are going to be going on in the downtown area, really community wide, now that the weather is warming up. So hopefully you can make it down one of these days and we'll grab a drink and sit and listen to live music.
Absolutely. Always down for that. And contractually, I have to say that concerts on the square and the 400 block is better, but that's also the only one that I've been to. So,
Right. So
but also
your bar is
contractually,
set right here.
I have to say that because we are a sponsor of that. But
Oh, you
yeah,
are. Nice.
no doubt about it, though. I mean, you bring up all of those great activities and things like that every year, and I, just the way that you speak about it and so passionately. I mean, that's what Stevens Point is about, right?
Yeah.
You want to be able to create things like this for the community to come out and support together on a random Thursday night. That's what Stevens Point is about,
Any
right?
night. Honestly, there's things going on almost every single night of the week. I know there's pub trivia and things going on Monday nights and the notes at night on Wednesday. Tuesday might be a little boring, so maybe Tuesdays are boring, but we'll fill that gap. But that's the great thing about the community. Before I became mayor, people used to say, "Oh, there's nothing to do in this town." And my wife and I had gone to all of these events before I was mayor. Like, if you
Mm-hmm.
think there's nothing to do in this town, you must live under a rock. Since being mayor, they've added so many more things. Like I said, I got my first complaint that there's too much to do. So maybe
Mm-hmm.
that'll be our next motto. Welcome to Stevens Point. There's too much to
There's
do.
too much to do. I like it. I like it. Put it on the sign. One more thing before we let you go. Obviously, we've talked about this a couple of times about how the city and the university are integrated. Of course, this week we found, or a couple of weeks ago, I should say, we found out Chancellor Thomas Gibson is going to be leaving to take over as chancellor at UW Milwaukee. I
Hmm.
saw him this week at the budget listening session in Wausau. I did confirm that he was there to advocate for UWSP.
Oh
He
yeah.
says, and these are his words, not mine. I am working for UWSP up until the last day.
Yeah.
But that means
Honestly,
there.
Michael, I got to tell you, I've known Chancellor Gibson since
Mhm.
before he was a chancellor here. I was part of the interview team, and Chancellor Gibson will be working for UW Stevens Point, even when he's not getting paid by UW Stevens Point. There has not been a bigger advocate of our UW system here in Stevens Point since Chancellor Patterson.
Mhm. And but that means change, in the city. Obviously, the only
Yeah.
constant, as some wise folks would tell you. Uh, are you? What would you like to see in the next chancellor at UWSP if it is up to you? I don't know that the mayor has a vote in this,
It's
but if
no,
so,
no. I was thinking about throwing my hat in the ring.
okay.
The trouble is I couldn't find my hat. So that's out of the question. No, the university does a great job of vetting candidates. It's a wonderful system, so I'm sure they're going to have a lot of very well qualified, very passionate candidates. I hope to be included in the process again. Um, but honestly, I just want someone who remembers that it's not just the university. The university is part of our community. We are symbiotic almost in that relationship. And we need to make sure that we keep those ties together. What's good for the university is good for the city and vice versa. And the problems that we solve together.
Mm-hmm. As I will always say, I am an advocate for Marshall, Minnesota. That's where I went to school, Southwest
Okay.
Minnesota State University. I stayed there 3 years after graduation, and from what I understand, 3 years is actually kind of short for
Yeah.
somebody to stay in that community.
Uh,
Their UW system would tell you it might be closer to 5 years that the
yeah.
average student will stay in your community after graduating.
Well, the funny thing is, a lot of the friends I made in college are still in the area. Maybe not in Stevens Point proper, but in the area. So, well, I lived here, so that doesn't count.
Mhm.
I met my wife here. She was a student. I forced her into marriage. So now she has to stay.
Hmm.
One of my best friends, Gavin Scott, I met him the very first year I was going to school, and he passed away, unfortunately, about a year and a little over a year ago. But yeah, he was from Wheaton, Illinois. He came up here to go to college and never left. And I've got so many friends that, I know people that have come up here for the university and just love the community so much they stay. That's one of the things that I'm very proud of. I can't take any credit for it, but I'm proud of that. And all the chancellors that were here before us, they play a role in that too. But really, it comes down to the community. I'm sorry you lost a bet and had to move to Wausau. Uh, but no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Wausau's great, but
Indeed.
that's
Indeed.
one surprising thing about Stevens Point. As a matter of fact, years ago, I was told a story by someone who moved here from Louisiana. Her
Hmm.
and her husband got a job in the area, and they were looking online to various communities. It could have been anywhere in central Wisconsin they could have lived. And she was going online and she saw all the cool things that we're doing here in Stevens Point. There's too much to do.
Hmm.
And she said, that's where I want to live.
That's
And
where
they
I want
still
to
live
go.
here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Enjoy the ride because you never know where it's going to take you.
Right.
It is, even
Exactly.
if it is from Marshall, Minnesota to Wausau, Wisconsin. Well, Mayor Wiza, we always appreciate the time. I was glad to see there was a good showing from the Franklin Street Burnouts this year in trivia.
There you
Uh,
go.
and we will look forward to chatting again next month.
Thanks for the plug. See you, Michael.
So, yeah. All right, I'll stop there.